Hey guys, me again. Just so you guys know, I do read the comments. I just don't reply to them since there's so many. I reply to one, then I'd have to reply to them all to be fair. Just way too many. So I'll try to answer the bigger and more asked questions in following updates if I can. First one, that creature I made my first delivery to? I asked Charisse and she said they don't have a traditional name like a lot of entities. They're apparently physical to semi-physical. Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to mean either. Manifestation of the background radiation of the universe. Basically the same stuff that causes the white noise on an old analog TV. I was given no explanation, however, as to why it had an appetite for regular food. McDonald's especially. I guess static beings don't have to watch their cholesterol. So, anyway, I ended up making several more deliveries that night and made out like a bandit. Even with half of it going to Adlin for the den in her SUV, which is mad expensive by the way, a custom job so I'm told. But yeah, the next two kinda went like the first one, just not as terrifying. I was actually starting to think I was adapting this whole paranormal racket pretty well, all things considered. The last one though, that one went south fast. My final being sent me to a place that definitely wasn't a restaurant. I hopped off my bike in a back alley next to a rusted metal door with "fuck off" deeply scratched into the rusty metal surface. Shit, I mumbled to myself as I raised a fist to knock. Before I could, someone on the other side jerked it open just enough to peek through the small crack.
You the guy?
They hissed loudly from inside. Well, I am a guy, I answered nervously. Without another word, they opened the door just wide enough to shove their arm, covered in a long rubber glove, through the opening. I reached out and took the plastic container that contained what looked to be raw meat. And as they withdrew their arm, I couldn't be sure if I thought I saw a silhouette of an arm hanging on a hook on the ceiling. There it is, I whispered to myself in the dark, as the door slammed shut in my face, leaving me alone in the alley once again. That seems about right. I looked down on my phone to plot the route and noticed a special instruction for the first time. Keep your eyes on the ground as you approach. Do not look up. Hold the container above your head. Leave only after it's taken and you have counted to 20. Do not look up. After a few seconds of considering just punting the container down the alley and hauling ass to the opposite direction, I got on my bike and made my way to the drop-off. With all the enthusiasm of someone who could ride off the edge of the Grand Canyon, but I still pedaled on. I rode up to an exposed concrete house that looks like one of those brutalist buildings from Soviet Russia or something. I had to pass through several really narrow alleyways that a car didn't have a chance of getting through. They gave way to a small courtyard-like area surrounded by buildings on all sides, in the middle of which a house sat. It was literally a rectangle with a single door in the front. No windows, no porch, no sidewalks, no lights. Just a concrete fence around the perimeter with a small opening in the front door. Just the house by itself scared the hell out of me. I walked up to the fence, or blockade to be more accurate, and once I was there I looked down and followed the instructions as I walked up to the door. When I got to the house, I held the container up and waited. After a few seconds, the door opened with a soft click, and a rancid odor poured out from inside. The smell of a dead skunk and rotten potatoes that almost put me on my knees. I felt bile start to rise in my throat as whatever left the house grew closer. I could feel it looming over me. It felt tall and morose and hateful and vile, and I could sense it daring, challenging me to look up. I squinted my eyes closed tight and kept my head down. And shortly after, I felt the package leave my hands. 1, 2, 3. I counted slowly all the way to 20 before I dragged my quivering legs past the fence and back out to my bike. After taking a few deep breaths, I got on and sprinted full tilt out of LA and back to the slummy apartment I had been occupying the past few days. I was only there a few minutes before my phone rang. Adlin, the screen read. She added herself to my contacts too? I asked myself rhetorically before tapping the accept icon.
Hello there.
Her honey with bee still in it voice spoke through the speaker. General Kenobi, I responded without thinking.
I'm sorry, what? Who?
No, sorry, my bad. It's just old habit. Hello, Adeline.
Ah, I see. It's okay, Jose.
She said with her own hissy giggle.
Anyway, I just saw that you turned off your active beacon. How'd your first night go? Well, I hope.
It's kinda hard to say. Started weird, ended weird. Lots of weird in between, I responded, scratching my head.
Oh dear, I see. That makes sense now that I'm looking at your customer history.
She said, the sound of the keys typing away in the background of her end.
But all the good news is that the little test run went so well that I've already decided to bring on more riders. We just need to find someone who can match your skill and experience.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, but unless you can sweet talk Austin Horse into coming cross country and signing up, you're gonna have a hard time with that. I stated a bit more smugly than I meant to.
Oh, well, isn't someone as proud as Punch? Well, luckily I have quite the network to find tippity-top-notch riders. But you'll be helping with that too, Jose.
Since when? I croaked over the receiver.
Since I said so, Jim... Jose.
She stammered. What? Who?
Sorry. You just reminded me of another pain-in-the-ass employee for a second.
She apologized.
Anyway, I'm sure to include a substantial bonus for every new rider you find and recruit. Sound good?
Yeah, I guess. I mumbled, looking around at my shitty apartment. So, what's your type?
Good manners, strong legs, solid work ethic. And helps if they aren't squeamish, if you catch my drift. Ha! Drift, that's hilarious.
Hey, what was that? Is Charisse with you?
Mm-hmm. She's helping me move some things around my office. Remember, keep your eyes out, and I'll make it worth your while. Ta-ta for now, Jose.
And with that, I heard the phone hang up. The next day, I went out and bought a purpose-made food delivery bag because my standard courier bag just wasn't cutting it. Only ended up being about $60, so that meant my next stop was the grocery store. I needed food, and I thought it'd be a cool way to try out my new bag. But as I rolled up to the ground-level apartment, I noticed a girl leaning up against the wall next to the door. Her arms crossed, apparently waiting for me. Who the hell are you? I asked over the sound of crunching gravel as I slid to a stop in front of her. She decided not to answer me, but instead to turn and push my door, which I could now see had already been kicked in, and walked inside. I could turn and run right now. There isn't even much of my shit in there right now. I could just turn and run. I whispered to myself as I got off my bike and walked into the apartment with the strange woman. It's Jose, right? The woman's voice asked from the corner of the dark room. Nothing seemed to be out of place except for the broken latch on the door, which I already somehow knew I'd have to pay for. Yeah, it's a long story, I know. My name is Harley Barnes. Or Miss Barnes to you. Okay then, what am I doing here? You know, that's starting to get annoying, lady, I grumbled to my intruder. But yeah, what the actual hell? Straight to the point. I can appreciate that, she said, stepping away from the corner in my direction, flicking her mid-length straight brown hair out of her eye. I work for a rival company to Cerber. Well, at least we will be. With your help, that is. Lady, I just ride a bike. I don't know what you think I can do for you. But I think you got me wrong, Vado. So, could you... I said, motioning towards the door. I'm afraid not, she replied, closing the door behind her. You see, you are indeed the Vado we're looking for. We need an inside man. Meta Adeline has an amazing business model and many paranormal entities have ludicrous income. We want a piece of that market, and you're going to help us find out exactly how she does it. The Cerber app, however, is where we get stumped. It's unprecedented. We can't replicate it no matter what we try. We need to know how it was made, and you? Well, you're going to be that one to find the information for us. Lady, if you think there's a snowball's chance in actual hell, I'm gonna risk pissing off that snake woman. You've lost your goddamn mind! I bellowed in her face, which now had probably the single most confused, perplexed expression I'd ever seen. I can imagine that was the last reaction she expected to get out of me. After a few seconds of silence, she shook her head slightly to collect herself before reaching out and picking me up off the ground like a son of a bitch Cabbage Patch Kid and lifted me straight up over her head in both hands. Now, I might not have a plethora of history in some ancient pantheon, but if you say no to us... She growled as she began to bend my spine in half like a wire coat hanger. I will definitely fuck you up. I imagine it would be pretty hard to ride that precious bike of yours with a broken spine. Okay, I got it! I screamed in an effort to keep my ass from touching the back of my neck. Whatever you say, lady! Good boy, she chirped before letting my body drop the full distance to the floor. We'll be in touch, she added as she saw herself out the door. I thought the situation was finally over until I heard the sound of twisting metal from outside. You guys have any track frames lying around? I half-asked, half-cried to the man behind the counter of the nearest bike shop. Holy shit, dude, what the hell happened to that thing? The man asked, jumping up from behind his chair. Looks like one of those twist ties on bread bags. Yeah, I can see that. Oh man, was that a vapor la hora? He asked, examining the violated frame. I mumbled. It was. Jeez, dude, you gonna be okay? That's like losing a family member. Well, it looks like damn near none of your components survived either. The frame took the front of the fucking, but they got theirs too. I got one track frame right now, and it looks like it might be in your size. But I don't think you'll be interested. The one who used to own it died on it, and it's a far cry from that magnificent machine you were on. Died? How? You know what, never mind. I can't afford to be picky right now. Not much. Do you want to see it first? Or I mean, does it need to be a track bike? There's been like 100 years of bicycle technology improvements that they don't have. And I got some pretty nice road bike. I'll see when I buy it. How much? I mean, honestly, I just need the room. Nobody else seems to want it. You want it, it's yours. Just pay for the parts you want to replace in the bike and keep this place in mind whenever you need something in the future. Sold. Where is it? A few minutes later, he came out of the back room, rolling it along with him, almost reverently. It was actually really nice, to be honest. The frame was steel like my recently deceased Vapor La Hora, but raw, unpainted, with brazen welds. The steel underneath still blackened from the heat. You don't see that very often, I thought to myself. Yeah, that should work for now, I said under my breath. I guess I'll keep the wheels set, cause I doubt you have any more track wheels sitting around, do you? Nah, the ones on the bike are all we got. You'll have to look for the hipster heavy part of the town for that kind of stuff, he said, handing the bike off to me. Well, they do look pretty cool with this brutal-ass frame, I replied, looking at the solid black wheels. Okay, let's gather up what I need, and do you have a self-workstation? Over there, he pointed. By the time we got everything sorted out, built and paid for, it was already dark. Time to get back to work. I didn't even have time to mourn and recover from the act of tossing a piece of cycling history into the steel recycling bin behind the shop. As I rode home to retrieve my delivery bag, I noticed a soft glow out of the corner of my eye. Thinking it was a car with LEDs, I started to move aside to let it pass. But as I did, the source of the glow came up on my side, and I could tell it very much wasn't a car.
What the hell are you doing on my bike, jackass?